So one last thing about Pittsburgh, they drafted Will Howard pretty late out of Ohio State, which was the national champions. Will Howard, to me, is going to have a good chance of making that squad because he's somewhat of a prototype Ben Roethlisberger type of quarterback. Very smart, plays out of pro-style offense. No competition. Exactly. And Arthur Smith is the offensive coordinator. So Arthur Smith is definitely going to be grooming Will Howard to step forward to be able to take over that starter role at some point. So, beyond that, Pittsburgh is in for a long summer and they're in for a long season unless they get a good quarterback on that roster or one that's already on that roster that's going to step up. So the next topic is we're going to talk about players that didn't get drafted. Let me repeat that. We're going to talk about college football players, some very good college football players that was completely passed over in the draft. One of the main players that we discussed, and Isaiah, we had that discussion already, was Xavier Restrepo, who was a very good possession receiver for the Miami Hurricanes. Xavier Restrepo reminded me a lot of Julian Edelman for the New England Patriots. Wes Welker, who actually played for the Patriots.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on about these possession receivers that they can get open. They don't have a lot of burning speed, but they know where the spots are to go to get open. Xavier Restrepo bypassed his last game, which was a bowl game with the Miami Hurricanes. Do you think that impacted his draft status, or do you think he just wasn't that high up on a lot of teams' list, of needs for the NFL draft?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with it because, man, I see, in the lens of these owners who get ready to invest money with you. You almost like you stab your team in the back, so to speak, because here it is, you made your living off of a team that you played for them, you was in the trenches with them, you cried, you was humbled, you cried, and you got, rained out because in Miami, football season start with hurricane season, and you muddy and funky and all that type of stuff. And you had these guys back, and in the last game, you got because you don't want to play because you fear you might get hurt. You could have got hurt in the first game. You could have got hurt in the second game. You could have got hurt in the third game. But the last game where you display and leave it all on the field, you ought not to play. So, man, these guys look at stuff like that because it's a sign of a quitter to me. I was super pissed when he didn't play because I wanted him to finish the game out, the season out strong. And I feel if he would have played, he could have been a difference in those scores that was in that game because he was the kind of guy who stayed open. He was the type of guy who knew, like you said before, he knew where those little soft spots were. He was always there. If Ward got in trouble, he knew how to come back and he would deliver the ball to him. He had all the intangibles of being an NFL player. He has them all. Everything he don't have is speed. Man, I could outrun him backwards with a cane. He's so damn slow. But he knows how to find open spaces, man. And now he's not even gonna get any work. He's gonna have to go in as probably a free agent also, but who's gonna give him a fair shot? Because he was in the combine. And that's probably another thing that hurt him because they said, damn, this dude was slow. 4 feet drop with a quarterback throwing the ball and overthrowing because it takes him 2 weeks to go down the field. So slow. But man, he messed his opportunity up by not playing in that last game. And DC, you knew how pissed off I was because we covered that game. And man, when I found out and he didn't play, and guess when he notified the team that he wasn't going to play? The very last minute. The very last minute. He did all the warm-ups with his team. He did all the pre-game stuff with his team. And just before they blew the whistle for you to come out there with a coin toss, he ought not to play. Allegedly. But I seen him in his uniform and all of a sudden he didn't play. So that's the reason why these people could have made a decision on him, because I'm gonna tell you right now.
I think that might have been somebody that said something in his ear.
Yep.
Somebody said something in his ear. That's why.
Well, Najee, this is the part that I found that it was despicable for him to do that, because Prime made sure every one of his players played, and they took an insurance policy out on their players in case of an injury. So what's the difference between Restrepo and the Kings doing the same thing? Because you need your product on the field, because all of this stuff is entertaining. Because think about something. It was one thing that made me really admire Kobe as a professional, man. Kobe played injured, and you had almost like crack his bones for him not to play. Kobe said this, and I'm going to quote. He said, man, you got these folks that go out there and work as hard as they can to earn a living. And they would spend their very last hard-earned dollar to come out here and see me. It ain't no way I can sit out a game if I'm able to get out on that floor to let them see me. Because these people get your money back if Kobe wasn't playing. So
and I said that. I said they not for the prorate your money because he ain't play. You gotta pay extra money to see superstars.
Exactly.
Yeah, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I remember even when Jordan was playing, you could take a team that was below 500. When Chicago Bulls and Jordan was coming to town, you ain't gonna have no empty seats. There's gonna be in every seat.
Yeah, because they come to see him.
He was coming, man. So that's what I'm saying. When you got a fan, a dedicated fan such as me, want to watch the last game of players that you admire throughout the course of the season, and he like wants out like that. He just left his team high and dry and didn't care. Oh man, I'm not playing. Hey, come on. And you see, these professionals look right at that and say,
You've reached the end of another episode of the DC Stewart Sports Talk Podcast. Be sure to connect with us at Facebook and Twitter.com. Your voice is important, so head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Catch our next episode.